Reconstruction, you had radiation. You decided, and you had your lymph nodes removed.
Right.
There was no lymph node involvement in your case.
Right.
And you decided to not have what's called, I guess, prophylactic chemotherapy, preventative chemotherapy.
Right.
Why?
My decisions were very informed. It came from a very intellectual place. I listened, I gathered my doctors, I listened to them all, I took the information, and because my lymph nodes were clear, and they did that sentinel node biopsy in my lymph nodes, taking the 4 key lymph nodes. If cancer was in one of those, I would have had the chemotherapy. But because that was clean, because they felt they removed so much of my breast and so much of the tissue that they got it all, it just felt that as much good as the chemo does, I also was very concerned with what it also does to the good cells. And I made that decision. And a lot of people do.
What did your doctor advise you?
My one cancer doctor said, absolutely, you have to have chemotherapy. I had 2 other cancer doctors. One said, no, I think radiation is sufficient, and one was on the fence. So I looked at it as 1.5. And the other thing was that I just found the aftercare drugs that they had to offer. I kept saying, is this the best that you have to offer women? And that's why I found this homeopathic drug,
And I want to ask you about Iscador in a moment, but I understand that you're reevaluating your options, and now you are considering doing sort of adjuvant chemotherapy along with more homeopathic methods. Is that true?
Well, as I've been listening to people discussing my health on television,
which must be rather disconcerting.
I was in bed listening to Dr. Andrew Weil and Larry King discussing my health, and I'm sitting there in shock, and then Andrew Weil said something that disturbed me, and he said, if a tumor my size has been growing for about 10 years, which I knew, it could very well have traveled to other parts of the body. I'd never, now that made an argument for chemotherapy for me, and I just heard of a bone marrow test that I'm going to look into. The part of me is saying, what do I do with that information? Because if they do find anything else, that would be chemotherapy. So I don't know. My nature is to be very. I dig to the bottom, and that is. I just feel like these drugs that I'm taking now are a complement to my cancer. That what I'm doing is building my immune system.
What about this Iscador? It is a derivation from a mistletoe plant,
From mistletoe,
that right?
Right, and it's been used in Europe since the 1920s. It was found by the famed homeopath Rudolf Steiner, and they're having incredible success. The books that I read, so they're having the same success as chemotherapy. But
it bolsters your immune system?
It bolsters your immune system. I wouldn't take it for chemo, the diagnosis. I wouldn't take it.
Cotton Bowl. Do you have